Okay. Hi, everyone. We're gonna go ahead and get started. It's often hard to get Beers and Banter programs started because everyone knows each other, which is what makes this program so special. I'm Morgan. I'm the director of the museum for those I haven't met yet. And I'm going to be leading our program tonight, and then we'll certainly encourage lots of audience participation. If you have a story to share and kind of chime in with some of the storytelling going on up here, please feel free to and ask questions. The format for Beers and Banter is question and answer style, right? So it's supposed to be a casual panel. I have some questions prepared that are quite abstract and kind of big, high level questions, and then I'll leave it to you all and to the panelists to ask some of the more detailed questions of each other. And I do just want to start by saying thank you to our panelists. We have Gwenn and Wadsworth here with us, Nancy Johnstone, Sean O'Malley, and Linda Merigliano. Yeah, and yeah. Beers and Banters are always only possible because folks are willing to get up here and share stories with us all. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. Also want to say a thank you to Jackson Hole Nordic Alliance and Nancy Leone, who is not with us at the program tonight, but hopefully is logged on. She was instrumental in helping us identify and round up some of these panelists. This is actually our second Jackson Hole Nordic Beers and Banter program that we've done over the last couple of years. And so it's obviously a large community, lots of stories to tell. And so we're looking forward to hopefully making this an annual thing. And also just a quick thank you to First Republic Bank, who sponsors our Beers and Banter programs this year. And I think I've said most of my thank yous. Thank you to those who are buying beer tonight. And if you're a member or a donor of the museum, you also are making all of this possible. So thank you. A few housekeeping things. We have bathrooms at the back of the museum. So feel free to get up and use those. And we have recycling out of the front door. So I think that's it. We are recording the program this evening and also live streaming it right now. I know we have a few folks logged in watching this remotely. And we will be posting this and sharing the program sometime probably next week. So with that, we'll have our panelists start us off by introducing yourselves. I always start Beers and Banter programs by asking when and why did you first come to Jackson Hole? And why did you choose to make this your home?
Okay, so Wads and I are from Encinitas, right above San Diego, California. We were very privileged to live at a very, very famous surf beach called Swami's. Well, we were skiers and we spent a couple of winters in Mammoth, the biggest snow winter ever, I think, until this year, where we walked off the balcony onto the snow kind of thing. And we are old surfers, and we started skiing, of course, when we went to Mammoth. And we used to go to Snowbird a lot. And Donsboro had a condo there. And one time it was just so crowded. You guys would ski snowboard, you know, it's just enormously crowded. We went, let's go try Jackson Hole. And we came up here. The first run we ever did was off the tram down Hole Banks. And about 2 feet of snow. And so here we went. Years later or whatever, you know, it's just
a good powder day.
Yeah, that's kind of why we came here. We came here and we also taught at the high school, both coaches, but I think that, you know, my thing was I was a 240-pound tackle and I skied like a 240-pound tackle. I was never a good skater, but surfing, we would surf the guy Mike Doyle was a very famous surfer. And one day Mike said to me, I was old, I've been old for a long time. I'm 89 now. And Mike said to me, we talked about it, he says, and he wrote a book, The Evening Glass Off. And in that book, someone asked him, who's the best surfer? He said, the guy having the most fun. I thought, hell, that's me. I'm having more fun. I don't ski well. Kelly's over there, and Kelly's father, if you know Tom Milligan, I'm sure Tom is our mentor. Tom took us out, and I'm a city kid, surfer. we're skiing across Jenny, and a cannon goes off. I fall on my face because I'm a coward. I fall on my face. Tom didn't laugh because he's a very pleasant man. Yeah. And he tried to explain to me that I looked and there's water. He said, no, there's ice underneath the water. Well, it's not trying to be intellectual, but that was my first introduction to skiing. And I got trapped. It was the most fun thing. And when I reminisce about things that for volleyball players and surfing, I always talk about cross country skiing. Kelly and his beautiful father, we would ski down the potholes, and Glenn and I and Tom and Kelly and Kelly, not being a very nice person, Kelly, we would ski down the potholes, and we get to Tom was living in the housing, in the government housing. And by the time we got to come back, Kelly had showered, had lunch, took a nap, and we were there. And you can see Kelly, she was not nice. She would just leave us. She's going off and she's home 2 or 3 hours. And we get there. Anyway, my introduction to skating was just, when I reminisce the things I've done and not done. I always reminisce about cross country skiing.
Yeah.
I was always.
Hey, Mike,
I was always aware.
yes, you were very nice. I shouldn't have said that.
Nancy. Can
Well, I don't
just
wanna have to follow him.
Can everybody
It's not
hear?
fair.
Can people? Great. So
What's that?
just making sure everyone.
Oh,
can hear.
all right.
It's great. You all are projecting them.
I moved here in 1991 with my husband, who moved here like the day after we got married, and the reason I moved here is because he got a job here, and I didn't want to move here because I was happy where I was. I grew up in Vermont, and we lived in Lake Placid at the time, and I just loved it there, but maybe moved here, and then he never let me leave, and like now I'm still here. He's like, no, we're never leaving here. So we've been here ever since.
Sean. you just know.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. It's a cold night. I should back up a little to before I got out here, which was I grew up in a alpine skiing household in western Massachusetts. We skied on a little hill called Mount Tom, which has 580 vertical feet. Night skiing, snowmaking, one of the first areas in the country with snowmaking. And my family, all my siblings and my parents were skiers. And they loved going anywhere to alpine skiing, especially when I went to Vermont quite a bit. But we had a hallway in our house between the kitchen and the living room, where various members of the family would put up maps of the ski areas that we had either skied at. One of my brothers or sisters or my parents had skied at, or wanted to ski at. And one of those that my brother Terry put up was Jackson Mall, and it was the 1965 map of the ski area. And there was the tram and the T-Knot operator, I think was. But instead of 580 vertical feet, it had 4,207 vertical feet. And that is a really bad influence on a young kid. Just something like that. So I knew I was coming one way or the other. In 1971, my high school history teacher / lacrosse coach piled 5 of us in his 5 students, 5 of us, for the students into us. I think it was a Ford van with his 80 or 100 pounds Great Pyrenees dog Gaia and all our ski gear. We drove from Connecticut to Jackson in 36 hours. Everybody took 2 hours to drive. My teacher was so great that he had was willing to give us the responsibility to actually drive and have everyone's fate in their hands. We all did it. We took turns. We left, got here, and at the time, the student ID, you could get a ticket for $4.50. And the hostel, I think, was, there were 4 of us in a room. It's $2.50 per person. And that whole area, you know, that Casper area, that was out of the house. Anyway, I was in that.
Yes.
Went back, came back out in '84, and I got a picture of it with a friend or best friend, and we spent a week in skied into Cascade Canyon over Christmas and New Year's. We spent a week up there, and we left when we had fought over the last of the M&Ms that were in our drawer. And we were out, we were just down to peanuts and whatever chocolates else was in there. And we couldn't take each other anymore, so we skied back out. We were so fortunate not to kill ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it was the classic December, really hideous snowpack. We were up skiing stuff, we should have done, and trying to climb things. It's really fun, really fun. And then in 76, I got a job. Really a much longer story for some other time with to the Department of Interior, and I was donated to science group as a volunteer in the park. Got paid $5 a day and got room and board and Joan Majors and the great cooks and that. And so I was here, I got to meet people from Jackson, because their kids were all down in school. And ended up staying, ended up getting a job. Well, after I graduated, came back, worked another summer at science school. In the wilderness for amateur, ended up surveying for Pete Jorgensen. Returned, ended up floating boats for Frank and Dick Barker. Ultimately, I ended up ski coaching as one of my students at the science school, Alan Ashley, Peter, who's the coach of the local Nordic team. Peter got bumped up to the U.S. team, U.S. women's team, and I was his roommate for the winter, and based on my great experience answering his phone and occasionally grooming the ski doo out of Trail Creek, and not due to any ski ability, I ended up the coach of the Nordic team. 79. So, and fortunately, with looking at Barker Ewing, I met my wife Megan, and we've been able to make a life here. That's how I got here in this place.
Thank you. Yeah. What's your first comment?
It's very humbling to be in this room, looking out at the audience. There's a bunch of people here that have way more history than me. So I'm very, very much looking forward to all the stories that are here. But Mike, my husband, is here with me, and we met in 1978 in the Adirondacks, and so he was at school at Paul Smith's, Saranac Lake, and met working on trails. And I had grown up in the Schenectady area at a little tiny ski resort that my parents made us as kids take lessons. And it was a little place outside of Schenectady called Maple Ski Ridge that had a T-bar and everything, and we learned how to ski. and everything. And then in, the early seventies, there was starting to be a pretty big Nordic scene in the Northeast. And so we would go on the weekends and go to all the different Nordic centers around, in Vermont and upstate New York. And there was a place right outside, right near our home called the Apple Barn, which was an apple orchard with a bunch of ski trails. And, being kids, we had to climb up the hills and, you know, little skinny, Nordic skis is the fun is to try to figure out how to ski down all these little hills. So I learned how to telemark on skiing Nordic skis, because that was the way to go downhill and things. And so Mike came out to the University of Idaho in 79, and honestly, we came here drawn by the public lands and the chance to work in the wilderness for the public lands and stewardship. So I've had a long passion of just responsible recreation and responsible use and all of that and stuff. So I came here in 1979 as a volunteer, and like, wow. We had come here as kids in 71 as a family to the Tetons, and the chance to, I never thought I could actually work and get paid to be in the wilderness. And I realized I could and things. And so I volunteered in 79, went back, finished my degree. And then the Northeast at the time, in the 1980 or so, the winters were just getting kind of iffy. We had periods of warm spells and everything, the snow wasn't great. And after being out here, like we really want to move to some place that's got good snow. We're gonna have winter, we gotta have snow and things. And so we decided to stay and figure out how to make it here. Both of us were seasonals, and Karen, who is also in the audience here, we were always scheming of how we could make it here year round, and actually find there wasn't that much housing, and it didn't pay very well. So we started working at Tardy Resort at $3.25 an hour. We were both lifties, and then we worked for the summers. I was a wilderness ranger, and Mike also worked seasonally. But we moved here permanently in 81 and just started exploring the mountains. So just lots and lots of adventures, and we've got some pictures from those early times. So this is home, not over. That's how we got here.
And Linda's authentic, she's got her.
I know it. These boots are present from Chuck and Karen, and they have a ton of history. So
I've seen better boots on the wall.
still my ski boots. I was in high school in 1975. I was on the Nordic team in high school, and we got the hot new racing skis at the time, which were NISL racing team, and that's what I still ski on. So the Teton Canyon, Cache Creek, Ingrid, and these are the boots and bindings that I have. And they work just fine. Mike's fixed they delaminated about 3 times, but we fixed them every time and they work fine. So, but I am planning to bring in the skinny skis this week and do a really nice job to make it faster. Not that I'm getting older, it's just the ski is not. So anyways, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for bringing me here.
Okay, so yeah, Chuck can tell the story of where these boots came from.
I mean, I was glad to hear you had myself racing skis. I had a pair 2 to 3 years later. And had them for 4 or 5 years, and then cut the tips off so I could ski on them.
Ooh.
And then realized that they were the best classic skis I had at home.
I've
And ended up
they're great.
taking them back to his classic.
So,
No, I didn't.
so, yep,
They're holding together.
Amazing.
Do they still, is that still a company?
I'm sure.
I haven't heard of that.
Big Austrian company. Bought by the actors.
Yeah. We still have, Mike and I are a little bit Luddites and we still have all our equipment from the eighties. It works just.
Ours are on the garage wall.
For you to grab or as?
Just to look at.
We have upgraded our back ends.
Not that. So, anyway, so we have some stories I can do from some of those early, just, but like Sean is, we never had weekends. We never did like that. Think so, but we weren't, you know, we were just touring in the mountains and we didn't die.
Nancy, can we come back to you and hear when you first started skiing? How you got into skiing?
Well, I was lucky enough to grow up, my family lived in Stowe, Vermont, and so I was skiing since I was like 2. But I started as an alpine ski racer. My whole family's are alpine skiers, and I ski raced through, I was 16 or 17. My coach said I didn't have the need for speed. And my parents didn't want to pay anymore because it gets really expensive, and if you're no good, it's just so easy. And I went to school in Montana, University of Montana, and I alpine raced for them, but we just had a club team. And so the first time I was in a cross country race was in it's the place of Boise. The ski area up there. Bogus, yeah. So if you went in the alpine race, you could get the Ski Meister award if you went in the cross country race. So I went in the cross country race. I probably had like that stuff on, and thing I've ever done. But I finished and I won the Ski Meister. And then I went to school. I went to graduate school in UVM, and I had friends that were big Nordic skiers. So I started Nordic racing and doing like more aerobic stuff. I ran track and cross country, and then I wanted to do aerobic stuff. So I got into cross country skiing and then biathlon. Then I joined the National Guard to be on the biathlon team. So I was on the National Guard biathlon team. And then I made the US team and then got to go to the Olympics for that. And then when we moved out here, I started.
Just got to go to this.
Since we lived here, I mean, I was a coach here. When we moved here, I became the Nordic director for the ski club and was the coach for quite a few years and got a few kids into biathlon, which was really fun. And although they resent me for that. And then I started doing more ski mountaineering and backcountry ski. And after I stopped coaching and I had kids, and you know, the whole way went to hell. And then the backcountry skiing was the easiest thing and the most, really is in Jackson, the most, there's the most options and it's the most accessible. Nordic skiing was at that time just Trail Creek, or you go to Green Hot Springs, or it just wasn't that much around. So I preferred the backcountry and started to do a lot of backcountry skiing. And that's pretty much more that I do still these days. Yeah.
Quite the ski career. Linda, do you want to share your photos? Now's a good time, because my next question was going to be,
Okay.
and the other panelists can think about this. To
Is there a way
share.
to turn the lights down in the front of this?
Yeah.
Yep. So there's just a couple of stories that Mike put this together, but the other thing to know is that we both live in Teton Valley, And so we've always lived in Idaho, but we've worked in Wyoming my entire career. So, this is all, most of these pictures are really from skiing over on the west slope of the Tetons in the Jet Smith Wilderness, what's now the Jet Smith Wilderness, and some of the spots around there. But this one, so Karen, that's you in the picture. So this is, I threw this in because this is what it's sometimes like to be a wilderness ranger when the season starts and the snow hasn't left. So this is 1983. And if anybody remembers, that was a phenomenal snow year. So this picture was taken June 23rd. Yeah, June 23rd, 1983. And so it's our friend Terry Bratton and Karen, and we're doing our first patrol in Alaska Basin to start the summer season. There weren't really many visitors up there yet. We had a great time seeing that. So, and of course, you know, spring tax and
Aaron, how much was it back? How much did it
It was
write?
big.
That was Terry.
I think that's Karen in the front and Karen in the back. Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, we had some big snow years. And yeah, this is you know, kind of, you had to ski for work. So this was Bighorn Sheep Surveys that did with Mike Whitfield and Lou Becker, who was the wildlife biologist at the time. And this was a trip that we made up the middle fork of Darby Canyon to look at all the sheep terrain in there. And then that sheep that's up there is called the wedge. And things that we did, we wanted to ski from Darby Canyon over to the Teton Fell. So I think supposedly in Tom Torriano's book, we did the first ski over that terrain. So this is Lou Becker when we got to the Teton Shell. And the picture on the right is coming over the wedge. What we did is when we got to the top, there's some cliffs and everything down there. So we just took off our packs, put the straps together and threw them off and just watched them somersault down the slope, and then we ski down and then pick up our packs. And things. And then that's Lou Becker skiing off of the sheep steps going into the Alaska Basin and things. And this was 1987.
Beacons or
No beacons. It wasn't that. So this was one of the first skis on Table Mountain. It's Terry Bratton and early October.
What kind of skis were you taking on these first?
You know, we had Terry had I mean, he was the snow ranger at Tardy, and he was just a really good skier and things. But he started out our first skis when he started going in the backcountry with us. He would carry all his alpine stuff, and he pretty quickly figured out that was enough. And so he brought Nordic skis and just really soft 3-pin boots that had no stability whatsoever. But he finally graduated to a little better equipment. But this trip, he probably had really liked Nordic stuff. And then Mike wanted to throw this in. This is skiing off of Peak Mountain. So this is way before any snowcat skiing and all the stuff that the controversies that are going on. And now this is all love skiing. Culture latches and things. But that was a pretty for those of us that live in Teton Valley, we went to Peak it all the time as a backup kind of accessible. And then Coal Creek. And we could make turns on fairly skinny skis and things, but it was all telemark. And then I threw this one in is in terms of mentors and some early things is I really learned a lot of, I'd never taken Nordic lessons or anything. And the people that really were instrumental in Teton Valley were Kurt Bachman, Ty Melville, and Ben Franklin. They started Teton Mountain Touring and then put in some yurts in the big bowls. And so every year we would help set up the yurts and then explore the big bowls. And then we, Karen has some really funny stories about this. But there was an annual yurt chase and things, and so it was a relay race where you had a team and you would go up and stay at the yurt, and then your team member would ski the first leg to the first yurt and tag things, and we did that all with skinny. I had my nice old racing skis through the big holes, and then what we do is we had army skins that we split in half, and so they were just about this wide. So we'd stick those on, glue them up, and those were the skins that we were using and things. But we did these races in the big holes every single year and things. And this is a picture of one of the yurts that was in the big holes. So, North Pine. So we started at North Pine and then went through Garnes Mountain and over to Butter Mountain. So, oh, and I threw this one down in just as a ladder. You can see this kind of relates. So this was the ski track that was at Toby Mountain Lodge. And you could ski there pretty regularly. And then, of course, that went away. And, is that perfect?
Yes.
So I think that's it.
Our photos, thank you for bringing this. Gwen and Don, do you want to share one of your most memorable ski expeditions?
No, but I'd like to share something with everybody. I think that these guys, of course, are outstanding, and Kelly and everybody else in there. But one of the things that we did that we ended up teaching many people about, and I'd be happy to share with you, is Tom Milligan introduced us to the backcountry. And we skied some of, I think, probably the original kind of skate ski in the spring. We did, so we went in and out of Old Faithful. We've done the end of Jackson Lake to the Nordic Center at the ski area, which is about, I think, 42 miles. And on these are backcountry skating around Jackson Hole in the spring, when it's all firm and you can skate very, very fast. And there's Dave and Jill and Kel and I don't know who else. Sean, I don't know if we ever skied with you guys some of these trips, but I think you and all these guys, they probably know more of the trips than we do. But I mean, you can jump out of your car at the Oxbow, go up the canyon to Emma, ski Emma, go over the hill, go down the road to ski 2 oceans, come out Pilgrim Creek, come back by the ponds, and you're back at the Oxbow. I mean, those are just some of the trips that are out there, and there's a bunch of them in here. And Cal, I mean, all these guys have done many of them too, and there's a lot of difference in their sky, So there's just beautiful in the spring. I mean, I think of I caught Alpine, I caught Nordic. I mean, we've done a lot of cool things, but I mean, we've been in the middle of Jackson Lake with Dave Hodge, Jill. We've been, I mean, it's just amazing places that are, and that's probably the highlight, I think, for me anyway.
Yeah, I think that, so we're both older people. And when we reminisce about our life, I think we always reminisce about there's trips that we've taken that, I mean, I'm not in this crowd as a skier. I didn't ski until I was 33 years old. I don't know if any of you have been to East LA, but there's not much snow in East LA. It's really late to skiing, but it just captivated me, the fact that we would do these things. We'd go on trips. David, when they would take me, places we were going up this 2 oceans, we came across this, we had kind of bushwhack out of this area, you know, and with Tom took us the first time. And so all these people are smarter than me, but they're not smarter than me. And there's a bear tracks, and we're going up to Pilgrim through this bushwhack. And I said, well, we'll turn around. And, you know, and they said, no, it's okay. No, it's not okay. There's no sign that says you have to make this canyon. You turn around and you go back. There's a grizzly track or something. But they're going to leave me alone, so I had to go with them. And you know, I just think
That was your dad's fault.
we would go. It just the places that I remember that are just fun. Like, you know, I just tell you one thing. My favorite trip was the things we used to take our car or truck and go up to Single Mountain and put our bikes in the snow and hide our bikes, and you have to put flat pedals on your bike. And so Tom gave us this first trip too. I went to Lizard Creek. If you're in Lizard Creek, the end of Jackson Lake, and there's a place, all the birds are there with the comes in, there's birds everywhere. It's just great. And you ski down Jackson Lake, and you would go to your car, hide your skis, and the truck would be at Lizard Creek, and you come out and get your bike, and you ride your bike up to pick up the truck.
Look at Sean, I've been there, done that.
I mean, you think about that, you think, oh my God, who's ever done that? I don't know. And we had a group from the Nordic Center, we skied into Old Faithful, and from West Yellowstone. And I've never skied anything, I've never run a mile in my life. And I hit the wall, I couldn't ski anymore, I was gonna die. And we got there and I ate, and I remember Dave Beelan, who was a little of a Yale snob, I was sopping up the juice on my plate with a piece of bread because I wanted to eat, and he made fun of my habits. And we skied out, and Robin Fullwiler was not here, but we were skiing out, and we were skiing out on this, coming out early in the morning before the snowmobiles get up, and you get up there and you hear this noise. We came around this corner, and here's these bison. They're snotty, they're farting, they fuzz all over the place, and they're coming down this trail. And my wife jumps off to the fire hole side, hides in a tree. I get my knife out and put it in my teeth, and I go behind my wife. And there's Robin Fuller. I wish Robin would have come, but has been here next. Because Robin, before she became famous in McGee, her name Robin Fuller from Middlebury, you know, and she's up there, and the bison go by, and your hair over, and I hear this voice, oh, I think I peed my pants. It was Robin. I came down. But those things are just, those are precious. My activity level has gone down. I'm getting older and I'll be up. But I just remember those things. I remember them so it's fondly. Even the hard ones, even the things that I fell in the water or somebody, I just remember them. And when I talk, obviously, not too much, but people would talk about politics or something, and I get back to cross-country skiing. I'm 33, I was 12, it changed my whole life, changed my complexion, I became a better person. I think it just was one of the most wonderful things I ever discovered, ever tipped me still. And I'll bore you one more time. One story. So we used to have telly races on Casper, and I'm not a very good telemarketer, but I can telemarket. I'm not very good. McGee's back there. I might talk to him about it, but I can't telemarket very well. But we have these races on Casper, and people say, Don, how did you do? Well, I didn't do. I never won anything, but I never came in last. And so after a while, people would say, how'd you do, Don Wads? What'd you do? Because I won my division. What's your division? Over 65, born East LA. Pretty small crowd. Yes, the lead group is pretty good. I just got tired of defending my poor technique and poor, do it. Okay.
But you were having fun.
Oh, I've had more fun than any 89-year-old person could have, and it's been great. That's it. I talk too much.
Nancy, do you want to share a memorable trip or a favorite place to tour?
Well, I mean, the best trips, I guess, are with, it's the people you're with. So I have two, one with the bison, my friend Sherry and I, and our husbands skied from West into Flag, into Old Faithful, and then from Old Faithful out to Flag when you're in on the way in, the bison. Which that luckily snowmobiles came by and we're just like going with the snowmobiles, and then Sherry had to hitchhike with the snowmobiles, she was so tired. And then when we get to Old Faithful, we're too tired to even like go look at we never saw it go off, because it was like 100 yards up the road, but we didn't go. And the next morning it was like 40 below and the snow was so slow. I mean, so slow, and from Old Faithful out, it was like uphill for a really long time. And but we had a great time with the people we were with, and then like, I think my best day in the Tetons, because I was with my son and my husband, we went and we skied the Grand Teton. And I have 3 kids. They're all adopted from Russia, and my oldest son, he's a troubled kid. He's been in a lot of trouble, but the one thing he can do is ski, and skiing is his thing. It's like saved his life. And it literally has saved his life. So to get him, he really wanted to ski the Grand. He tried the year before, and you know, he's in terrible shape. You know, he can't go downhill, but he can't go uphill. But he's got to do it. He was so determined. And my husband's a guide, and our friends are. So we have the best thing was it wasn't planned for me. I was just gonna help him carry stuff up to the meadows, and then I was that far, and then we went to the actual guys camp, and well, it just seemed like then like they're my fritchies that are really loose, and but that day, just to have your family with you up there, and for him, it was a big thing, big accomplishment. That was something good going on in his life, and skiing can, just like any sport, can really just save a person. So that is my best day in Tetons. That's for sure. Thank you for sharing.
We had everybody up here. I mean, you got Scott Horn from our trips to West Yellowstone over Thanksgiving. I mean, you got everybody here who's done so many cool things. And I think I just like to spend a second and not get emotional, but I want to give thanks to all of you for how great cross country is here. I want to thank Nancy so much, because now we have Jacksonville Nordic Lions, which is so awesome. Tom, of course, Tom and Charlene and the Milligan family who lived at Moose and taught how many of us, you know, loved that country. I want to thank Skinny Skis. You were the guys that got us going at the beginning. Remember, they were the one that promoted everything for us. I'm trying to read my list here, it's so long. The Ski Corps gave free, thank you, Scott, probably. We gave the free Nordic lessons for a while. It was great. I'm trying to read this. So many people. And my friend over here keeps us safe in the backcountry when we're back there, and is great at telling us, you know, where to go and where not to go, and the national forests, the national parks. I mean, there's so many people.
My husband.
Oh, my God. Great email that we get, you know, the Nordic, and Kathy from Eco Tours always writes a cool little thing in there. And just everything. It's amazing where it's come from way back when. In the beginning, you know, it's just amazing what Nordic is here now, and it really so much appreciation to all of you guys who made it happen. It's amazing.
And Gwen, you're part of that too. And I will say, you sent me one of the best emails I've read in a long time when you responded to my email about being a part of this. Her response was just so fun about, oh yeah, the old kick and glide crew. I'll get people out here. It was just, you immediately could tell what a community this is. So.
And I hope a lot of the folks that we tried to contact are joining us, you know, on computer today. You know, And Cal came on, and you guys came all the way over the pass, and thank you that. And then, if any of those other guys, it would be so fun just to hear everybody say a few words. If you guys were all sitting out there, just want to say a couple things. Odd. Jill.
We think about that maybe. Sean, do you want to run through your photographs
Sure.
too? Yeah.
This is the fashion of 1974. My friend Eric and I skied in Cascade Canyon. I think we had ropes. Well, I know we had ropes. We had ice axes. We had crampons. We had I had my Paul Petzl winter bag. Probably weighed 10 pounds. You can see there's snowshoes on the top. We were ready for everything. I think it probably was pushing 100 pounds. That's why I was asking about that. So it was miserable carrying it, but it was great when we stopped. I learned my first lesson going across Jenny Lake about the water on top of the ice. Because this was Christmas, and eat over, and then suddenly the water is up to your ankles. And this is not good, and I've got miles on the back. Anyway, that was there. This is my alpine background. I was a ski patrolman at Mount Snow in Southern for a couple of years. And really, alpine was the love I had for skiing until Nordic took over. Came out and this is 1979. Some of the kids on the Nordic team, and Peter Ashley is in yellow next to me. I think Mia must have taken the picture because she's not in here. That's at the ski cabin up in the Goodwin Lake on Jackson Peak. That's a newcomer over on the left, Mark's sister and daughter, Tracy Tice, me, Peter. I think that's Chris Connor, the tall one there. And I'm not sure who was on. Kathy. This was the Nordic team in 1979. Peter was a guest coach there. He's in the back with me. Terry Porter's was far left in the back. Got any number of local Jackson locals here. Yes, right. Kim Svensson, right in the middle. Teacher at the Wilson School. Also was a junior national champion. Eric Bobrecht's right next to her. Anyway, a whole bunch. At the ski cabin. My probably most enjoyable ski trip ever. Well, it's kind of a long list, but Peter and I went up July 10th. We climbed up Avalanche Canyon, skied that, dropped into top of Alaska Basin, skied that, and dropped over and skied the top of Death Canyon. We came over the top of Static and skied all the way down into the gulch down there until we ran out of snow. The huge boulder in Scooter Trail. And for the last 400 or 500 yards, you could hear the water just boiling underneath you as we were skiing back. It's like, we should get it out of here. And we had to keep skiing. That was great. But as we heard from various people, it's here tonight, it's the people you're with that really makes skiing so great. This is full pedal paddle. And you might recognize some of it. Got to do some great trips. You might recognize the young lady and almost. Second.
It's gonna see.
There you go. We've got Pam Weiss, Rusty Scott, Johnny Curtis, Edie Bennett, Metis, and it's kind of hidden. Petey, Chris Swinburne, Pete Carnes, Rob Mahoney. That girl had a nice. And Carol Beck. It's- These trips were fun. I got to fly around Mount McKinley. We chartered 2 planes and piled into each other. Just outstanding. I think Scott Horn's in the middle there, right next to Eric Wilbrick. And Pete Carnes, Jim Springer, a whole bunch of people. Debbie and Taylor and their kids a few years ago. And skiing can be kind of challenging in some days. That was probably in West Yellowstone. Or that was definitely in West Yellowstone. Last weekend. Yeah. I got to do some cool races, the Berkey. This is it's back. This is where all your clothes end up at the finish line. And it is so well organized. You can just walk right up your aisle and pick up your clothes and on your way. And Watts, here it is.
There it is.
I recognize that bike.
And
Bike goes much faster now than it used to when you.
that's the proud owner of my moves. But if it comes to really the special trips, I think it's with friends, either in the potholes, and it's cross cruising in spring. Now, David's the temperatures in Wyoming, everything's perfect. This is Jenny Lake. This Mia got dragged along on some of these as well, or instigated a few. So Blacktail Butte, south end of that, a whole slew of people.
You should say you skied all the way around it.
And we skied all the way around. I think in the lead there is Rebecca Scooter. There you are. And Stephanie, I'm sorry, I had a picture of you, but somehow it didn't make the cut. There is Beck and Christy and Mia on a perfect day on the bus. That is skiing.
Let's open it to the larger group. Does anyone have a question on these folks? Or is Glenn encouraged if someone else wants to share a story, if you were inspired by some of their comments? Anything? Tell me about the Nordic Center. It's no longer, right?
Yeah. Couple guys there. Here, anyway, the Nordic Center was great. I mean, it was such a cool, we had the little cabin that's now for the dogs. And I should have brought a photo. I got a great photo of all of us on the deck that one year. Really fine skiers, fine teachers, and the interesting thing about the Nordic Center was when I first went over, I was teaching Alpha, I went over to Nordic. They had the women's NC2A championships. And the course went all the way the whole South Loop, which is now homes and stuff, right? And the whole North Loop. And it was absolutely incredible. And then I think, Scott could probably speak to it more, but I think when the new development came in and they were gonna put in their own course and stuff like that, you know, the Nordic Center, I don't guess we ever made money, right, Scott, but you know, it was kind of like, yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know how many people have ever skied the old Nordic trail. Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful, huh? You could go out, you could do hills, you could do Ellen Creek, you could do the whole 9 yards. And one of the things we love, and I'm sure many of you guys have done it, is just go from the Nordic Center up the Moose in the spring, just skate it. It's just beautiful along the river. I mean, probably most of them here, but yeah, it's just, you know, I'd love to hear some of these guys tell some stories.
I don't know if it was original, right, with him, but I think we need to give Bruce Simon some credit.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It was awesome. That was awesome. He was the earliest, right? At the Nordic Center.
He had the vision.
Yeah.
That's it. Our first lesson we got from you and the Community Center.
I think so.
I have no memory.
You blanked that out. It was such a good lesson that you just.
That was bad, not bad. But Hodge was the head and where'd they go? There's a bunch of different people here. Come on, you guys, say something.
Okay, so
Say something. Yeah, say something, guys.
Speaking of knowing how to push the limits of cross-country skiing.
yeah, right.
Maybe.
Yeah, come on, Scott.
But I would like to, one other person who never get credit for Nordic, and or for much else probably, but Rick Horn, early on, personally, solely packed a ski trail up Cache Creek, dug a trench so he could get a snowmobile up over Game Creek, and then packed it out all the way down Game Creek to the end. And so for 2, 3, 4 years, we had a Nordic race that went up over Game Creek. And
Yeah.
down. And it was scary. It was wild. Rick did that all on his own. That was pretty visionary.
Howdy.
The era of having cross country and Congress, as those two sports kind of emerged into two branches of the same evolutionary tree. It was just kind of a privilege to straddle that divide, as it were, right? The Nordic at Jackson Hole at the mountain resort was sad to see that go. As a little bit of a bygone era, and work at big resorts and kind of out there supportive of the diversity of skiing sports and all of the value that lies and sort of knowing both sides of the metal edge. And but what a great community to be a part of, and to all the depth of the experience. It was great to hear y'all's stories. And actually, I still want to know that first slide. It was up here for the first hour. Does anybody know where was that?
The one that I was shown?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was on the saddle of Southly and Northly Lakes in Jed Smith Wilderness.
Wow.
Cool.
That's a pretty cool ski trail.
Especially in nice and race skis.
What skis we have? Swallows.
let's hear the story about the boots too.
Oh, actually, Chuck has to tell the story of the boots. I got these boots from Chuck.
Yeah, they actually came from Carrie Swenson after the kidnap, the famous kidnap, when she was absconded. I don't know much about that, but I'm sure there are people here that know all the story. Those guys, top level skiers, were getting stuff almost every year that was pretty cool. And so we got it through Pam Wise, who was attended Carrie, and skied on it for a long time, and then decided we needed to upgrade to something like new alphas.
Yeah.
So Linda ended up with,
So I got it.
so I have to tell you a story about those boots, that we were up at the top of Glory in the old days. And I had whatever, I think Karen and I both got some nice casting with double boot 310s when we got here. And realized that things were colder and we wanted to ski on a little bit wider ski, maybe like a 60 or 70 millimeter ski, or something really beefy. I'm sure Linda had her camisole,
Nice.
and we were gearing up at the top of Glory, and she went, took off down toward Gold Creek, making this beautiful telemark turn, and I looked at Karen and said, "This is not the year." And we couldn't keep up with it all days. I got some good turns.
So that's what these, I'm not giving up these words.
I actually, Gary and I are really good friends. I might be able to talk to her until like upgrade.
I'm afraid if I take the findings off those skis, like.
And try to find replacements for those. Yeah.
Kelly, could you say something about your dad and your mom and growing up in Moose?
Sure. My dad was born in 1925 in Stockton, California, and he fought in World War II and got out of the war. He was a huge football player, which was really good football player.
Don't talk to Dave, but Dave used to walk in the room sometime and say, "Those idiots, they talk about the same stories every day." And Dave would walk out and discuss, but we didn't care, we didn't stop.
So anyway, he got out of the army, he went back to school in Stockton and was supposed to play on the football team, and the world changed, and I'm no part of that. And so he talked to a friend who was a forester, and I think it was actually Moscow, Idaho. So Dad packed up his car, moved to Moscow, Idaho, spent a year in Moscow, didn't like Moscow, but got transferred to Missoula. And Dad has a story. My dad, the first tracks he was, I don't even know what got him into skiing, but he found some of the first pairs of skis. So Dad had some of the first tracks down the M Hill in Missoula, and he was totally hooked. And so he started skiing and he got quite good. And then he met my mom, and my mom was from Sugar City, Idaho, Charlene, and she had never even realized that girls could be athletes because she was born and raised in Sugar City, Idaho, and then she meets my dad. And it was very obvious to my father that anything he could do, she could do better. And I think that's why I to this day believe that's the biggest reason Mom married him, is because he kept showing her all these new and fun and great things to do. And of course, he taught her how to alpine ski, and before long, she was the best alpine skier on the hill. She was an amazing skier. I've got pictures, you sent me those pictures that you guys always taking across the crest with my mom. Yes, so anyway, skiing was her first, she loved it so much. We were born in Yellowstone, and we learned how to ski, and Bill Briggs taught us to ski and snow skiing, and I hated it because I was cold all the time, and I never wanted to ski, and I was forced to ski. So I've been skiing since I was 2, and I was forced to ski through junior high, and then high school comes along, it's like, thank you. Skiing, we're not going to be cold anymore. I have to stand on those gates and be nervous, and then I found cross country skiing. And cross country skiing was just a whole other thing. But yeah, my parents, you didn't have a choice. If you were born in a Milligan family, you skied or died. He looks like, oh, lucky. I'm like, okay. Yeah, Dad, some of you talk about these trips, and he was out there on the yellow black Hokies, skiing from Grand Teton over the top into Idaho. And actually, this is I should have brought him. His skis are a little newer than those there, but when he was in Yellowstone in the 50s, that's where he first got his first job. He would in the summer, in the fall, he'd load up his horses, his mules with canned goods, and he would ride to all the backcountry cabins throughout Yellowstone and stock them with canned goods. And then he would, in the winter, get on a pair of skis like that, take off and just disappear for a week or two and just ski through the middle of nowhere. And he always came off. So yeah, he was pretty amazing. And skiing was very, very important part of it. And I felt really lucky that I found cross country skiing, because the need for speed, I had no need for that. It was like, this is stupid. You're standing at the top of the run and you ski the slalom course in the fall. And that's it. You're done. Your race is finished. You know how many times you can fall in a cross country ski race? And Peter Ashley, he was the coach when I first started skiing in 1975, and he made it an awful lot of fun. The US ski team the Nordic team used to come to Targhee for their spring training camp, and Peter would gather all of us little junior Nordies up and drive us over to Targhee, and so we could ski around the loops of Targhee, the ground squirrel, the hamster loops, they put the hamster loops in. And one of my first memories is 1976. I'm over there skiing around the hamster loops, and the whole US ski team's there, and they're all in shiny winds and everything like that. And it was just, yeah, it was magical. And I think being introduced to that, and how smart of Peter to get us all excited about it. And it was just wonderful to grow up and to be raised. And I must admit, I feel pretty damn lucky that I was born. I got to go through all of this, because yeah, it's a pretty special place.
Peter, Ashley, and Jeff Crabtree were on our first Beers and Banter panel 5 years ago.
Yeah. Did they tell you how Crabtree Rock got its name?
I don't think they did.
Does everybody know Crabtree Rock? Under Alfred Group? Tell the story. I don't know the story. Sean was better than I do. Yeah. Jeff is 10 years older than I was. He did this in high school, so I was fairly born. But Jeff jumped Crabtree Rock and he landed in the gully and broke all his legs.
Well, he did tell us.
That's pretty much the story.
I remember when he was in high school skiing down the pass, he just stopped
Yes.
and it punctured his abdomen. And so he literally had his holding his intestines in his side.
I wanted to add one thing, you were asking about memorable ski trips, and we're kind of talking about all these trips from the days like there aren't those trips today, and that's not true. Is we're doing the ski trips that you can do today are just as adventurous and just as exciting and everything. And I mean, trying to think of what's my best ski trip. All I could think about was the trip that we did last week. So Louis in the back was on the trip with us, and it was Chris Beck and Libby and a bunch of our buddies and things, and we were up at the Former Canyon Yurt, and we just had awesome snow. And just a great group of people, and so it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
So
I should say something about Turpin Meadow Ranch. That we don't own any part of it anymore because we ran out of money, but at the Nordics, and I haven't been up this year yet, but hopefully they're still doing a good job grooming. And absolutely, yeah. I get bummed because my vision was a little different than what it is right now, but can't call the shots when it's not your money anymore, but But I think they're still doing a great job grooming, and I think the free ski day, I don't know why so many people go, because it only costs like $10 to ski.
On other days.
Yeah. But the first year we had it, we didn't really even advertise, it was the first year we were open, and, so many people came, and we ran out of food, and my daughter's like, people are trying to get to the diner, and Martha's yelling at me, Mantra, you can't be the maitre d' and yell at the people. But it's just such an unbelievable place up there. And Hans and I always wanted, like, we tried various things to get a Nordic Center going here, like way back, we went to Clay James, thinking that Jenny Lake Lodge could maybe be open in the winter, or at least the lodge, and it could be something you could ski into, and you know, it's not winterized out there, and he said it just wouldn't work, but there's just so many options, and it just seemed like there could be somewhere where you could go and be cozy and have a bunch of good groomed tracks with good terrain, and there really is great terrain up there, and there's actually, you know, a lot more that they could do. So hopefully they'll keep expanding and people will keep going up there.
Yeah, it's popular and still lots of places to cross country ski and through trails. I know last year, I think we had Allie, who's the head of the ski club now, and it sounds like, you know, the Nordic program is just continues to grow and grow and grow. So it's cool to see that that's the young kids here are taking up this sport and continuing it.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
Both our district rangers, so the Jackson District Ranger is Todd Stiles, and all of his kids are phenomenal Nordic skiers. So he's off on a plane right now to Maine to watch his son race at Colby College, and things, and then.
It was awesome once he came in as the Buffalo Ranger District, because the guy before, when we first started with the hat, he didn't like skiing. I mean, he was such a hard
That was a
time.
different era.
Yeah.
So, and now, Jason Wilmot is the Black Rock District Ranger, and both of his kids, both of his kids are, in the Nordic program, doing super well. So,
Yeah. You have to have somebody who understands and believes in the sport, and dealing with the federal agency, I mean, you know, is never easy. And at first, they really were resistant to any kind of expanding or moving, even getting rid of a tree so the piston bully could get through. You know, they just really gave us a hard time, but then when Todd came in, it really got a lot better. Yeah.
and Todd came from West Yellowstone, so. He's a really good skier in his own right, so brought that. Here too.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much. Everyone's welcome to mingle and chat whenever.